Hello?
Facts matter. Reason why I'm saying that is because we're going to talk about right now on this episode about the backlash that the Black Lives Matter movement has been having, but no one's really talking about it. Welcome everyone everywhere to the Elite Thinking Club. I'm Chris Jules Julian and I'm joined today by my co-hosts Liz, Mads and Michael. You guys all right?
All good?
Hey.
Happy days. Right, before we go any further, I'm going to say what I always say before every episode. You cannot change anything unless you're willing to understand it. And you cannot understand it unless you're willing to explore it. A good debate doesn't get ugly. We may talk of things that make people feel vulnerable. Beliefs held sacred may be challenged because of life experiences, but we're not trying to make people wrong or to incite a riot, but simply explore. So welcome to the Elite Thinking Club. And if you're new to our YouTube channel, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe button as well, and hit that notification bell so you know that we're going live. Right, facts matter. Going to talk about this, but before we do, we're going to reference a past episode. So if you haven't done it already, you got to check this one out because it's going to help you understand a bit more about what we're talking about now. But defund the police. So I know, Mads, you came across this and you wanted us to explore it. So can you just highlight again for us what that was all about?
Sure. So I came across it when I was going to see like a support worker, and there was this girl outside and she was like drinking. She was very, very upset and on the phone to her mum, and she was just like, oh, if they don't help me, like I'm gonna end up killing myself in a week, blah, 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 blah. And then, so when I went inside, I said to her, I was like, please help her. Like, she's really suffering, this poor girl. And she was like, the support worker was like, we try, but we just don't have the resources. Like, we don't have enough staff. We can only do so much. And, you know, she was basically introducing me to defund the police. And she said, you know, she said to me, there's this whole movement at the moment called Defund the Police. And essentially what it is taking money out of the police, of funding the police. I've forgotten the statistics, but it's a lot, the funding that it takes, you know, to fund the police, taking it out and putting it into the community to, you know, support people like her. And the idea would be is that it would stop criminal activity,
Right,
or reduce it.
right. And if you haven't done so already, like I said before, check out the episodes so you get a bit more understanding of what we're going with here. So basically, in principle, they're going to lower the funding that supports the police. Now, we're not anti-police. Okay, well, I say we, I think we all agreed on it. We're not anti-police because let's say for example, someone robs your house, who are you going to call? Like, you need people to be doing their jobs out here. But this is why I want to like lead us on to the facts matter in regards to the Black Lives Matter, because we need people to be doing their jobs, but we need them to be doing it well. However, what Michael's about to talk about right now, it definitely does put a new angle on the perception of the police. Like, I'm not going to spoil it. Michael, go ahead and lead in with what. Thank you, Mads, for that. Go ahead, Michael, and lead in what you're going to lead in with.
So the defund the police idea is actually one of the ideas put forward by Black Lives Matter. Now, before I get into this, I hope anybody watching this agrees with me on this. Black Lives Matter, all lives matter in my opinion. But yes, I agree with the title Black Lives Matter. If you don't agree with that, don't watch anything I'm in and go kill yourself. Because if you're a racist in our day and age, there's no room for you. So, but the problem is, I think, the whole motto Black Lives Matter is actually like, so I would say Black Lives Matter, I'm sure anybody else would, but that's now actually the like trademark of different things now. So Defund the Police is actually involved in this little bit. So Defund the Police UK, where you look, different places say different things, but they're looking at defunding the police by 50%, like slashing the funding by 50%. Now in America, which is where the biggest Black Lives Matter is actually happening, they want to abolish the police, so and close prisons down. So I mean, I'll give you a second to try and like fathom that. If we've got no police
Mm-hmm.
and no prisons,
Mm-hmm.
what is going to happen with like so people that aren't pro-gun? Like if this happens, I'm going to have to go out and get a gun to try and protect my family because we can't then ring the police to then get this stuff sorted out. That's just two of their things. Which do you agree with that sort of like? But so I watched a guy that was talking to a black fella, and he said, but that is not what they want to happen. They're saying this because for governments to pay attention to them, they're saying that they want this, but they actually want this. So it's like, say, like a child who wants some sweets. He says he wants 5 sweets. He gets given 1. So that is how he explains it.
Okay, so yeah, the reason why we wanted to explore this, right, was because simply, in a nutshell, the Black Lives Matter movement is so important, where people are fighting for basic, like, civil rights, and not only civil rights, like this system that is built is massively unjust. Okay, however, why we're going to explore facts matter tonight is because there are people unable to do their jobs properly because there are people that are literally using the Black Lives Matter as a means to, if you will, get their own way maliciously. So I'll give you an example. White police officer stops a black woman in a car, says to her, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you know how fast you were driving?" For example, going over the speed limit. And before he's even approached the car, and this is, I get this, right? She's got her phone recording because of the reality that she's a black woman and she's being stopped by a white police officer because, you know, Black Lives Matter is highlighting more than anything police brutality and racism. So she's rolling the phone. But here's the issue. The policeman is also recording what he's doing because he's in fear that she is going to try and portray him as a racist bigot. And this right here is the issue that I want to address. Facts matter. This woman is speeding, and I'm not exactly sure how much she was speeding, but she's speeding. So he's going to do his job. If she reacts in a way that most people should, when you're caught by the police, abide by the law, do it. But instead, she took to social media and went live, and she actually started being hysterical. Police officer said to her, "I need you to get out of the car, ma'am. Please get out of the car." And he was doing his job to the most professional way. And you can, like, we've got to get the link for this and put it in the description so people can see it. But she was trying to make this man out to be something that he was not. And that's why facts matter.
And that's unfair. That's not equal either.
Go on, Liz.
It's unfair. He's doing his job, and you know, it's people like that that kind of ruin a movement that is trying to get a positive out of it. You know, it's people that do things like that. Yeah, it just to me it just causes negativity. It's just you know, it's not to the movement and to the officer trying to do his job, and he is now then going to feel every time he has to deal with a scenario or situation, whether it be female, whether it be somebody who's black, Asian, whatever, it's
and this is a lot
going to come up against it. Yeah,
and this is a lot more common than people take, because you know, you sometimes as a person, your mind or eyes cherry pick what they want to see, because that's like human nature to a degree. You only see what you want to see. And if anything outside of what you believe happens, you won't want to believe it. So you won't choose to see it. And it's very heartbreaking that how common that there are people out there now using, if you will, the race card to their advantage, because it works very well when it works very well. Remember, a comedian said it once, Dave Chappelle, and he says all of his, you know, he's one of my best favorite comedians because of the way that he actually uses comedy to talk about some real shit. He says, I love racism. Yeah, racism sucks when it sucks. but when it works, isn't it great? And he's just like, you know, it's got to be highlighted. Like, fuck me, there are people out there trying to use race now as like a weapon against innocent people. And it's like reverse racism almost. But Michael, I know that you were passionate about facts matter. Can you go into more detail again about certain situations?
Yeah, so that one that you're on about, I don't know if that's the one we kind of brushed on. Is that one you was on about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this lady went on Facebook Live and then said that she was going. So she's been pulled over for speeding. She said she was going maybe 4 or 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. He had threatened to rip her out of the car. Because they were driving next to some fields and slaves used to work in fields, she felt uncomfortable because it pointed towards racism. Now, that copper got so much stick because of this Facebook Live, because they took her side of it, because that's all they had. I mean, this is the point I'm trying to make. When something happens, because governments and the police, sheriffs, and all those other people that have the information, they can't put it out straight away because they have to do an investigation. So all the information people get is one-sided, but people don't wait for the second side to come out before they judge. So this guy was getting so much hate, he finally released his body cam, where she went up to the window very politely, told her that she was going 75 in a 50. That's 50 miles an hour over the speed limit, not 4 miles an hour she told Facebook Live. In the state that they were in, if you don't sign the book to say that it's not admission of guilt, is literally to say that you're going to sort it out. If you don't sign it, it's an arrestable offence. So he said, you need to sign it. She said, I'm not signing it. I'll pay the fine, but I'm not signing it. He said, if you don't sign it, I'm going to have to get you out of the car, which was the rip the out of the car. So
how he conducted himself was professional, and he did it by the law. But what she was trying to make him out to be was stopping her because she was doing 4 miles an hour over the speed limit when really she was doing 25 miles an hour over the speed limit, 25 miles per hour over the speed limit. And what she had to sign could have just resolved the situation very quickly, but she tried to make it out like she was willing to pay the fine, but he was threatening to rip her out of the car.
Yeah,
now,
he was going to get her out of the car.
Right.
If she was, it's called passive refusal or something like that. So it's not like they're fighting you, but when someone goes stiff, it's called passive. So sometimes then they have to rip you out of the car eventually if you don't do what they need you to do, because it's an arrestable offence, not the sign. So at that point, they need to put cuffs on and you go into the station. Yeah. So that was one of them. So the NFL, which is quite a big company, we all know the NFL. So they honoured a guy called Shaun Reed. Now, if you look him up, go on his Facebook profile. Actually, I won't say that yet. So NFL honoured him. So you three would say that was a good thing to do. Yeah.
Honoured who? Who? Give me some.
Honoured this guy called Shaun Reed. He was ex-military.
Okay.
So this is what I'm trying to say. So the information that you get, because they drip feed it, so he's 22 years old, ex-military, which they say they're ex-military, he was in there basically for basic training, and then he got kicked out. So there's not really a long army career there. So you can't, when you talk about like against a police officer that's been in 20 years,
right?
9 months isn't a scale.
I have no idea who this guy who's been honoured is. So
if you look him up, Shaun King, he got honoured by the NFL, which the NFL is quite a big company. But then when you look into his Facebook profile, so if you go onto his Facebook profile, is because he's been shot by police, he's on a remembrance page. Yeah. Right, you know, the top bit of your Facebook page, there's that top picture.
Yeah.
Well, that picture is actually him shooting a Glock, not shooting, but facing a Glock 17 at the camera. not 100% bad, but then you go into his pictures, and he's in the pictures quite a few times with a Glock in his hand. But you get, he's America, so he may have a gun. But then he released a video of him driving along, shooting his Glock at random buildings, and not just buildings, houses. Yeah, so shooting at random houses. Then on the day in question, he was driving like an absolute moron. Like, you can see it from the video. He went Facebook Live when he started getting chased by police. He started driving, he was going to drive like 60, 70 down a 30 road, which is why police started following him. Then he went Facebook Live. He's laughing about how he's driving along. He texted his sister saying he's not going back to jail. He's not being stopped, all this other stuff, which you can look up. This is all factual. And then when he pulls up, he's like, oh, I've got to get rid of this car. He jumps out his car. He's got a T-shirt on his left-hand side. His 2 phones on his right-hand side, which he's recording the stuff on. He runs around the corner. He pulls his phone out. And if you slow it down just enough, you can see his gold Glock in his waistband. Yeah. So this guy is running along with his phone, laughing. Then his camera goes down, and there's some gunshots happening. Yeah. Some people say it was one gunshot, like one distinct gunshot. But if you listen to it enough, there's 2 different gunshot sounds. But as he pulls his phone out, you can see he has got his Glock in his waistband. The same Glock you can see that he's shooting random houses. Now, police shoot and kill him. So the NFL honour him.
Right.
I personally think, with the stuff that he's done, there's no way you should honour that guy.
Mm. And this is why facts matter. So yes, Black Lives Matter, and I understand the argument too right. I understand the argument. It's facts matter though. Also, if you're driving down the street shooting random houses, are you expecting to be off the radar?
What if he'd have shot a baby? What if a bullet had gone through one of the windows of those houses and shot a child, or shot anybody, shot a mother or a father, taking care of that child? And it's just, they wouldn't have honoured him then, would they?
Well, you say that.
And again, I think that lack of information and lack of, the other side of a story is therefore part of misinformation. So that the one side story you have is misinformed technically because you haven't got the whole picture of the story. Yeah.
Yeah. So people said, like, because he's 21,
but the media want you to have a misinformed approach.
Yeah.
Because if we all knew the full facts, and we would look at all of this more openly and wisely, I think, with these movements and these things that happen.
Yeah, I mean, some of the problem with this as well is there's a guy called, I might get his name wrong. If I do, I'll correct it. But his name is Shaun King. He's got like 1 million subscribers on Twitter. He'll go on there and say one-sided stuff. So there was, I can't remember if it was this shooting or another shooting. He said the copper's name, but because he only said, say, Mr. Smith, there's another guy called Mr. Smith in the same department that then was getting death threats and all this other stuff because he's got, oh, that was a rape one. He did it in a rape one. He said that Mr. Smith had raped this lady and threatened the boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So this went on for ages. So she got pulled over for driving while under the influence, yeah, which she was.
Right.
It was, but in her story, he got in the back with her, started touching her leg, put his finger inside her front bottom.
Okay.
And said, give me that good stuff. So painting him at such a bad rate, the boyfriend turned up, he said he wants to go or I'll kill him. Yeah. So all of this stuff went along. This guy on Twitter and got a lawyer, said bad things about it, like said that about him. Which, like I said, him and another guy, because they had the same name, got death threats. And then when they finally released the footage, he was nothing but a gentleman. He was nothing but 100% professional.
Right. Right. And this
But a
is
week ago, they would have some would have killed.
right. And this is why facts matter. Like,
Well,
we
yeah,
should-
because he could have been up on a rape charge,
Yeah.
lost his job and
killed.
everything.
right. Yeah, Michael, we're with you. And if they defund the police, then, you know, in relation to this, we are, I mean, do they need to even defund it? If I was a police officer, I'd probably be wanting to stop being a police officer.
Yeah,
You wouldn't
yeah,
want to be a
that's what a lot of them say. So let's go back to defund. So if
Okay.
you defund the police,
right.
so they've got less money. So let's not say the American one where they want to take all of it away.
Go on.
English one, if it takes 50% of the money away, what are you going to have? You're going to have police that are paid less, so they're going to be trained less. You've got less people willing to want to be in that police force. Like our army isn't paid the most, but I believe we are the best army in the world because we want to be there.
Correct.
Whereas now everybody that's joining the police, there's probably going to be an issue why they're there. They're not going to be paid the same. So it's going to be less training. So we'll look at a female copper that shot someone. So they stopped a guy.
Go on.
He jumped out the car and then jumped back in it. When they jumped back in it, she panicked, pulled out what she thought was a taser. She even says on the body cam, taser, 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 shoots him in basically the heart. Yeah. Because she's not trained, she panicked. She pulled out a real gun rather than a taser because she panicked. And that is with the funding that they've got at the moment. If they stop the funding or halve the funding, there's going to be less trained people out there. So there's going to be more of these things happening. So all you're going to do is get more people killed because they are less trained on the streets.
Yeah. And this needs to be addressed from both sides. As with everything, there's always someone that lets the side down. We got black people pushing for Black Lives Matter, and then we got other black people taking the fucking piss. Like, we got white people that are police officers doing a good job, and you got white people that are police officers taking the fucking piss. And it's heartbreaking because there's those of us who are, if you will, the word woke or aware enough of this shit happening. But unfortunately, we are in a very difficult time. Very difficult time.
Yeah.
Mad.
So I think these people that are, if you're a police officer, then you should be above report. You should be, if you do something wrong, I believe the whole force of the whole law should be at your ass. If you do something wrong, if you're 100% wrong, or because there is accidental shootings where people, like I see it today actually, where some guy pulled out his phone, and he was in the shooting stance. He was in the dark. It looked like he had a gun, and they said with their body cam, like they didn't turn their body cameras off. You can hear them say, "Gun, gun, gun." They shot him because they thought it was a gun. They were even standing there asking each other if they've been shot because they believed he had a gun. They believed they were getting shot at. So mistakes do happen.
That's not a mistake. If I was in dark and someone was making gunshot noises and it looked to me like, you know how phones have flash on their light, so it's mimicking a gun and it's in the dark, I can't tell if it is or it isn't. Bro, I'm putting him down. I've got a family to go home to. Like, I'm not playing. Like, if you feel like your life is, you know, when we was in Afghanistan together, Michael, it is literally card alpha. If you feel like you or your muckers are in danger, life threatening, you have every right to put that fucker down. Like, regardless if he's playing or not, it could be a replica gun for all I give a shit. I'm not taking the risk. I'm not taking the chance. So I'm putting him down and I'll stand by it or her down.
Yeah, at that moment in time.
Yeah.
I mean, they brought out a 61-page report of it, and they got found not guilty.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, yes, it was a mistake, but it wasn't a purpose mistake because, like I said, everything pointed towards he had a gun. But in the news, reported it as black guy was shot in grandma's yard.
Right.
But that's the problem, isn't it? It's gone to the point. It has happened where it's been on purpose, and it has happened in a corrupt way and an illegal criminal way. a lot, so that now there's so much emphasis on it. So it's gone almost the other way, where you can't do right for wrong, if that's right in what I'm saying. So basically, like, you know, you have to justify every single move now because of those who have done wrong in the past and who did go into that line of work in a corrupt manner and did go out and did do what they did to people because of the color of their skin or the neighborhood they lived in or what have you. That has caused this to happen now. That has caused the issue we are now talking about. So I feel for people who go into that job to do good, and they are decent and they are proper, and they end up in a courtroom because they've used their weapon in the right trained way, but they end up in a courtroom and suspended for a certain amount of time, you know, and possibly lose their career. It's, you know, and they've done their job properly. It's really hard, but unfortunately the issue is here because of those who did do it in the wrong manner, and they are proper, and they end up in a courtroom because they've used their weapon.
Yeah,
that's a bit weird. I just heard my voice again.
Yeah, so that was
so I 100% believe that if these police do something wrong, they should be held accountable. But what we need to remember as citizens is when you hear just one side of it, try and wait for the whole story to come out before. Like another one, there was a guy that was mental problems. He was threatening to jump off a building, so they closed off the street to try and get a professional into talking down. Now, because they've closed off the street, you see the video from passers-by, normally a screaming lady who doesn't understand. But she comes up like, why have you closed off the street? She's like, oh, we're sorting something out. So straight away, they're like, oh, you're hiding something. They're screaming so much that the guy they're trying to talk him down. Like, they don't want to shoot him. They don't want to injure him whatsoever. But because they can't hear each other because there's so much screaming going on, he almost jumps because he's not listening to them. Luckily, they'd spoken down. No, they had to taser him again. But then because you hear a taser, which sounds a little bit like a gun if you don't know the difference, now there's people screaming because he's been shot and saying, oh, police brutality. They'd been there 50 minutes trying to get this guy down. And that was the only way to do it. But because these people don't know the facts, they would have rushed the coppers if they thought they would have won it. So again, don't judge stuff until you know the facts.
Exactly. Not sure where I stand on that one. Got to take time to process it before I speak.
The last one, the taser.
Yeah. The person was mentally ill, so therefore probably couldn't really think things through.
I personally don't think that
instead of him jumping,
a taser would help his mental state. But
it was either that or him jump off a building.
I know.
If they did taser him, he would have jumped and killed himself.
Just want to ask, Mads, you've been really quiet this episode.
I'm just taking it all in and listening.
It's cool. But you have nothing else, nothing to...
Simon, let me just...
Yeah, it's cool. Sometimes you ain't got to say nothing. You know what? Facts do matter. Massive. Now more than ever. I believe everyone should be allowed to record how it goes down. And I feel like everyone should be allowed to record, like all police officers should be allowed to record to cover their own asses as well. But what we got to do as people is just be better at the end of the day. But it's hard because, you know, Black Lives Matter especially has highlighted that there is a lot of injustice and a lot of racism. So how can you expect us to be calm? And I get it, but we can't then use it as a weapon against innocent people to try and get yourself out of something that you put yourself in. If you want to speed, you know what I mean? You know you're breaking the law. If you want to start shooting random houses, you know you're breaking the law. So what do you expect from the police?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, going back to that riot that was happening in Seattle. no, Austin, Texas. So a guy was talking to, because he said his banner was Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organisation because of the riot they did, which cost $600 million, because they killed 19 people, because they injured 600 police officers, and because they had demands, and any qualifying criteria, so that organisation is actually more like a domestic terrorist organisation.
Right.
So he said it wasn't right. So what would make it right? So $600 million worth of damage isn't right. If 19 people being killed isn't right. If 600 coppers isn't right. What would make it a right? And he actually had, the guy that was talking to him, he actually had on his top a police officer who was shot in that protest, riot, whatever these people are calling it. Now, he was actually an off-duty police officer that got a phone call from a friend whose shop was being broken into. So he come down to help his friend now. Now, this police officer had been in the force about 40 years or so.
Oh, I heard about this. This is sad.
Yeah. So he goes there. He ends up being shot because of someone robbing the television. Now, this guy that he's talking to completely ignores the fact that this, like, oh, do you know this person's name? He's like, well, that doesn't matter right now. What do you mean it doesn't matter right now? This is a black copper who was trying to do the right thing, got killed over a television. How does it not matter right now? So this black life doesn't matter in this instance. It's how are they both true?
Mm-hmm.
He was there to try and help his community, and he has helped his community for that long, and he got killed over a television set.
Yeah. And like I said, we have a lot of people on both sides letting the sides down. So many people, right? I mean, to cause that much damage from what is meant to be a peaceful protest, and maybe people have got to the end of their tether. They're like, we can't make it peaceful because no one takes us seriously. But the reality is we're not doing ourselves any favors by going out there and acting like that. Like, 19 people killed, and not to mention, like, we're killing our own in the process. If you want to, you really want to pick
because
sides.
somebody got killed, you're protesting to say that that person's life mattered, and then you go out and then those other lives are lost. So the loss is far more heightened and more than the one life that you're protesting about. So it's just a ripple effect, a negative ripple effect. And, you know, going out and damaging your community and damaging businesses within the community that will give you jobs and, you know, sell you food and sell you produce, it's not good. It's not good.
So while he was having this conversation with this other guy who was dressed up like you know, the guy from Kick-Ass.
Right.
He was dressed up like that, and he shouted this other guy's name, it stopped him. So then after he finished, he went over to where this Scott guy got killed. Yeah. And then he spoke about how he got killed. Now, this guy early on in the protest was recorded walking around with an AK-47, yeah, on the streets, walking around with an AK-47. Now, this he was a sergeant in the army, was doing Uber on his time off. He got stopped by the protesters. His car was being absolutely demolished. Like, you can see videos of this. You can see the video of his car. Now, the guy with the AK-47 is tapping on, banging on his window. Protests all around him, which at the time, imagine you're in that car, there's all these protests around you, and then there's a guy with an AK-47. So he took out his pistol, and instead of driving people, like knocking people over, he used his pistol to shoot this guy twice. The guy that had the AK-47, and then now they've got plaques and all flowers up because of this guy that died, who had an AK-47 out on the streets, pointing at this driver. So how's that right? How's that, like, AK-47s were protested against before, but now because it's part of their protest, they don't mind this guy with an AK-47 and pointing at people.
It's double standards.
Mm-hmm.
There's a famous scene in a TV program called Peaky Blinders, where the main guy, Tommy, has a little boy, and his enemy take his little boy from him and use his little boy as leverage.
Mm-hmm.
And he loses his shit with another gangster, goes up to him and says, they've crossed the fucking line, excuse my language. And the other gangster looks straight at him and says, you got some flipping audacity to say that, haven't you? The amount of key people you've killed, the amount of mothers who no longer have sons, the amount of, you know, and that's the double standards we're talking about here. There are people who want to live by the gun, but don't want to die by the gun. And that's, in essence, what you just described.
Yeah. So one more example, just because talking about just how people see stuff is so, in my mind, it's crazy how people see stuff. It's the one I told you about, 15-year-old girl. So a 15-year-old, like, as the couple walks up, this 15-year-old girl stabs another girl. Yeah? As she's fallen to the ground, the father of the stabber kicks her in the head. Yeah, you can see this on camera. Kicks her on the head. She then turns around and there's like this girl against this truck. She then turns around and you can see if she wasn't stopped, that knife was going in her throat. Now the copper pulls out his gun, 3 rounds inside her. She dies pretty much instantly. Now the dad, the first thing the dad says is, she's just a kid. Well, you just kicked a kid in the head. So your argument can't really stand on that part. But then there was like uproar about this. She was only 15 years old. Kids have been fighting from day one. No, she had already stabbed someone. So it's not like there wasn't background there. The cop had seen her stab someone. And she was about to stab someone else. So to me, that was a justified killing. No matter if you're 60 years old or 5 years old. If you're stabbing someone, you need to be stopped. Now, they argued that a taser should have been used, which I've seen loads of videos that tasers don't always work. Especially when people are got so much adrenaline in their own body.
It's really hard. It's really hard as well, because I personally think that, you know, when they're shooting people in that incident, I personally think, you know, sometimes it's hard to judge the ages of people. Sometimes it's hard to judge the mental stability of a person. I personally think that maybe they should shoot in their legs, you know, so they go down, but don't shoot to kill. And I know that I'm not saying that they do shoot to kill. I'm just saying that maybe disarm them, you know, or shoot them in the legs so they feel the pain and they go down. Or like you say, taser could have been better, because I understand that she stabbed somebody and that she was trying to stab somebody else. However, we don't know her background and we don't know her mental state of mind. So she, you know, it could be argued, had she have survived, it could be argued in the court that she was, you know, mentally not stable, did not know what she was doing. So
I understand that, but
I understand she'd harmed someone and she had intent to harm another, and that she was trying to. I understand that. So yes, they were saving, in their eyes, they were saving the life of the person she was trying to harm. But I just think that maybe if the police are going to have weapons, you know, maybe they could just use them to
highlight when trained on weapon systems. Just to say, when we were soldiers, I was trained on pistols, a Browning and a SIG, and from a 15-meter range, controlled environment, two-handed, sturdy stance, aiming at a target, to get a precise shot, even from 15 meters, you need to be shit hot. In the heat of a moment, the largest center of a target is the torso. We are always taught to aim for the torso. It's the largest body mass, center of mass. In the moment, with a moving target, by the way, this isn't a static target that you're practiced on. You need to take the shot. To try and shoot someone's leg, which is very slim.
Yeah, you can't be specific, can you?
I'm just saying, in the moment, just to say, they should be shooting them. We don't know how far away they are. And if they are
Mm.
15 meters, because most of the time you are roughly about 10 to 15 meters away from a person in those situations. You're not going to be literally point blank range. So
But
yeah, I just wanna say
I'll try and find a video for you. But when you
Tish.
watch it, you will see a taser would not have worked. Tasers are just in movies they work. It's something stupid like 60% of the time, tasers won't do what they need to do.
They can
I've
also kill
seen-
people though, can't they, tasers?
They can do, but in this instance, a taser would not have saved the girl from being stabbed in the throat, which is where the knife was heading.
Right.
A gunshot to the leg wouldn't have stopped her from stabbing her in the throat because the momentum that she had was going for the throat. So the only way to do it was 3 gunshots to the chest. Sometimes, and people have taken 30 shots and they've still survived.
Yes.
But if you see this video, you'll say there was no time, because people are saying this, oh, maybe you could have done this, maybe you could have done that. At that
I think
moment
I've seen the
in time,
video.
there's no way you could have done anything else. And on the other side of it, which is what, because I watch a lot, if you want to watch this stuff, Donut Opera is ex-army, ex-police. He breaks down his stuff so that you can get the facts. It is totally in the middle. When police do something wrong, he says they do something wrong. He is in the middle. But when you watch it, and he said this, if that was your daughter that was about to be stabbed in the throat, and the copper that was there used a less lethal means because of what people will say after, and your daughter got stabbed in the throat because of it, you would be livid. You'd be like,
Yeah.
why did you use a taser?
Well, it's the other end as well, isn't it? If they hadn't have done that and that girl had have died, they'd have got backlash for not shooting and for not stopping it. So either way, like I said, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah, but at least he saved a female. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if she's a female, but he saved a person's life that at the moment in time, because she might have been a complete arsehole before that, but at that moment in time, she was about to be killed. So if you're going to extinguish someone else's life, in my opinion, you forfeit your own life.
Yeah, live by the gun, die by the gun.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Well,
But to me, that was a justified killing.
Cool.
I feel sorry for the parents, the one that kicked her in the head, another girl in the head. I feel sorry for her life being lost, but you shouldn't try and kill her.
For real. That has been one hell of an episode. And Mads especially hasn't said much, just been absorbing and that's observing, which is great. And Michael, I know you're very, very passionate about facts matter. And, I too am passionate about it too. What an episode to absorb. And I hope you guys watching, you've taken away something more from this as well. We need to do better, I suppose, is the ethos behind it all. Like, we must do better, both sides, and we have to work together. If you haven't done so already, guys, hit the subscribe button and follow us for future episodes. And if you want to as well, there is a link in the description there where you can buy our Elite Thinking Club hoodies. Get yourself one of those and support the podcast. What a great episode. If you haven't done so already as well, check out our Facebook too, because we also have episodes on there that you might be interested in listening to or watching.
And our Insta. Our stories are quite fab. Yeah.
Exactly.
We're everywhere, basically.
Yeah. So,
you can't get enough of us.
What a great way to close tonight. So 2 episodes recorded. Happy days. So Black Lives Matter, facts matter, defunding the police matters. Great episode, guys. I'm gonna have to call it there, I think. So everyone watching, from me and all the team,